Hello, welcome to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica and this is my December 2025 reading wrap-up. When I do my wrap-ups, I don't share trigger warnings for the books I talk about because I think that they are spoilery. If you have any concerns about any of the books that I talk about in regards to triggers, I recommend using the app Storygraph. I film my wrap-ups in multiple filming sessions, so you're going to see changes in outfits, angles, and lighting. I'm sorry if that bothers you. This is just the only way I can seem to get these done. When I talk about the books that I read, I like to play a game called MASH. And MASH is a numbers game we played in the 90s that predicted your future, like who you would marry, what kind of house you would have, etc. So when I play, I put all of the books that I read in my apothecary jar here. And obviously not the actual books, like the book titles on slips of paper. Anyway, I draw 4 and then I decide which MASH category I would put each of those books in. So I have 4 MASH categories. The first is house, which would be like the setting. So of the 4 books, which book would I want to be in the setting of? Next is romantic partner, spouse. So of the 4 books, what character do I find crush-worthy? Next, friend or family group. Of the 4 books, which friend or family group would I want to be a part of? And then last, job. Of the 4 books, what job would I want to have? I cannot double up a book on any of the MASH categories. So it can sometimes make deciding what goes where a little challenging, but also really fun. In December, I read 12 books, so we will be able to do, I had to do math for a second, 3 rounds. Let's do round 1. Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. The Deal of a Lifetime by Frederik Backman. Housekeeping by Marylinne Robinson. Capone by Jahquel. The Deal of a Lifetime by Frederik Backman. This was published in 2017 and is a novella coming in at just 65 pages. This story reads to me like a Christmas Carol retelling where the main character is in an accident and in the hospital, and there's a little girl in the hospital that he gets to know as well, and then there's the character of Death, and Death is personified as this lady in a gray shirt with a clipboard. So the main character has to decide if he's going to trade his life for that of the little girl to save her. And it's kind of like him revisiting his past and his choices and that kind of thing. And this is not my favorite Backman that I've ever read. It was so short, and there are illustrations, like full page spread illustrations, and the illustrations are great, but then that's even fewer pages of writing that we're getting. And at just 65 pages, you really, I mean, maybe you can, but he didn't do much in exploring the ideas that he was trying to explore and really developing the characters. I think that this would have been better if it was longer. One idea or one question that's asked in this book that I did find interesting that stuck with me was he asked the question about like happiness. And I think it's actually a false dichotomy the more I've thought about this, but the main character believes that people who are happy don't create anything, and that creativity is primarily driven by suffering. And so the best ideas, the best works of art, the best storytelling is born from suffering. And so the main character's like, I don't want to be happy, I want to create something. And I thought that was an interesting idea when I first read it, like seeing happiness is kind of overrated and thinking that happiness means a lack of creativity or, ideas. But having thought about it a little bit more, I do believe it's a false dichotomy. I do believe it's that same tortured artist line of thinking that is often really harmful for creative people. I don't think you have to suffer to be creative. This goes back to The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, who believed that the way to create is to suffer. And I disagree with it. But it was an interesting idea. I gave this book 3 stars. For MASH, I picked setting because it would be interesting to follow Death around and kind of see what these people decide and talk about, and what Death's daily life is like. Maggie's been making her bed the whole time. If you're hearing that noise, it's her digging in the carpet to try to make her bed. Housekeeping by Marylinne Robinson. This is a modern classic, I guess. It was published in 1980 and is 219 pages long. It's about these 2 sisters who are raised by their eccentric aunt. And it's really just a slice of life story. Not a lot happens. It is very slow and mostly character driven. It's mostly a character sketch of the sisters and their aunts. And I wanted more from this. It does kind of cover like this concept of impermanence and transience, sisterhood and womanhood, but I don't feel like it's saying anything new or all that interesting. I didn't find the characters to be all that compelling, except for the aunt, and she doesn't have a POV, so we don't really get to know her outside of the main character Ruthie's perception of her. And I don't know, I read it for the in-person book club that I've been going to this past year, and then I actually wasn't able to attend the book club because I had a plumbing issue at home, so I had to be home for the plumber. So I didn't really even get a chance to like see what other people were saying about it and see if that discussion would change my feelings about it. This for me is a very forgettable read. I gave it 3 stars because Marylinne Robinson can put together words really nicely. Like the prose is really pretty and lovely. For MASH, I picked job because there are like some teachers mentioned in the story. There's a farmer mentioned in the story, and both of those are jobs I could do. Capone by Jahquel. This is a dark romance, an urban romance. It's book 1 in the Delgado family. It was published in 2024 and is 286 pages long. So the female main character in this story has suffered a major trauma in her childhood. She witnessed the murder-suicide of her parents, which has really shaped who she is. She, when her parents die, is put in charge of taking care of her brother. Not legally, but just like in her own head, she feels like she's now responsible for him and his welfare. And so her whole life has sort of been focused on taking care of him. The male main character in this is Capone, and he is the head of a crime family in the area, but he also has like legitimate businesses. So he's got a lot of money coming in. His twin brother is in prison, and his brother-in-law used to date Erin, who is the main female character. So that's how the two end up meeting, is their paths just cross. And Capone decides that like, hey, this is the woman that I'm gonna marry, and starts, making that happen. I thought this was a good book. I enjoyed it. I thought the characters were well done. I thought the psychology was well done. The plot was good. The pacing was good. There is sickle cell anemia representation in this. I can't speak to whether it was good representation or not, but it is there. I gave it 3 stars, and for MASH, I picked Friend Group, especially Erin and her family, because her aunt and her cousin, they're just all so close and just love each other so much. Last for this round, Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. This was a new release published in 2025 and it's 385 pages long. It's an adult thriller. I believe it's Holly Jackson's first foray into adult thrillers, coming from writing YA thrillers. Elements of this book did still feel kind of YA, particularly with the protagonist who felt a little bit immature for her age. But what happens is she one day gets hit over the head, and that blow to the head has caused an aneurysm in her brain that's going to blow within like a week. So she decides that she is going to solve her own murder and figure out who hit her in the head and why. Along the way, her best friend, I believe his name's JJ, he joins her, and they just get into all kinds of mischief. It's twisty and turny. I loved the relationship between the main character and her best friend as they went through trying to figure out who did it. I thought the premise in itself was really cool too, like solving your own murder. That is something. The ending, I thought I saw it, what was going to happen. I thought I had figured it out, and then I totally had not figured it out. So this was one where I couldn't predict the end, which I can always appreciate in a thriller. I gave it 4 stars. For MASH, I picked romantic partner because the protagonist's best friend that goes with her on all these adventures, he is so lovable, totally crush-worthy. Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Pray for Silence by Linda Castillo. Smart University by Lindsay Weinberg. And the last one, Holiday Grind by Cleo Coyle. Holiday Grind by Cleo Coyle. This is book number 8 in the Coffee House Mystery Series, which is a cozy mystery series. It was 367 pages long and was published in 2009. This mystery series is set in New York City at this coffee house, and the coffee house is run by Claire Cozy. And Claire has found herself in the role of amateur sleuth so many times at this point that the local police department basically sees her as a consultant. So she's kind of her own private detective at this point. And the mystery in this one, it is a Christmas themed one because there is a man who dresses up as Santa to do charity drives, and he is taken out. So we have to figure out who done it. And of course, Claire Cozy is on the case. This is probably my favorite cozy mystery series for a lot of different reasons, and I enjoyed this book quite a lot. The one thing that kept it from getting a higher star rating was a little bit of what I felt like was racism. Maybe in 2009 it wouldn't have been. There's a new police detective that takes the case that Claire is working on with this Santa that is taken out, and he wears a do-rag, and so she calls him Deputy Do-Rag. She doesn't like him, and so she uses that term as like a derogatory thing, and it bothered me so much because she used that phrase so much that it took away a lot of my enjoyment of the story as a whole. Like if she just hadn't done that, if she had called him Mr. Poop Face or something that didn't have those racial undertones, it would have been fine. That really was my only criticism. Unfortunately. Not a good one. Not a good one. So I gave it 3 stars. For MASH, I picked Setting. I love New York City. Pray for Silence by Linda Castillo. This is book number 2 in the K. Burkholder series, which is a crime thriller series set in Amish country. It's 304 pages and was published in 2010. Interesting to me that all of the mysteries and crime thrillers that I read in the month of December were were published in either 2009 or 2010. So they all are from like the same time period. I don't know, just thought that was kind of cool. This one is focused on Kate Burkholder, who is the police chief of a small town in Ohio that is Amish country. It's vastly made up of an Amish community, and Kate Burkholder was Amish. She grew up Amish, and then she left the Amish community during her Rumspringa. So it puts her in a unique position to do really well as the police chief in this area, because she's able to understand the social like conventions and speak the language of the local Amish community. And this book was good. It wasn't as good as the first one because I feel like in terms of the actual crime and the mystery, it was the same thing as the first one. So I didn't like it as much because it felt like we're just repeating the mystery that happened in book one. But I still really liked the characters and the character development that occurred, and I like getting to know the community, and so I'm still going to continue the series. I gave the book 3 stars. For MASH, I picked Friend Group because this local police station, like, they're so adorable the way they take care of each other. Like, they're a close little friend group. Like, even the woman that does dispatch, you know, like, is good friends with everybody. So I don't think it's very realistic to how actual police departments function, but this police department, fictional police department, is very cute. Smart University by Lindsay Weinberg. This is nonfiction. It's an academic book. I read it for work. It was published in 2024 and is 246 pages. In this book, Weinberg makes the case against smart universities, which would be universities that use different forms of data and technology to track students. Just track like student performance, to track student wellness data, and other things. She doesn't really offer any solutions to the smart university model other than don't do it, which I felt like was unfortunate because smart universities is where things are going. So, and I actually see some value in having student data. Like, I like to have student data in my classroom because it helps me be a better teacher when I can see certain trends. So I'm not completely against smart universities as a whole myself. And so I think that the solution to just not do it, I don't know. I think that's not realistic. She does bring up some really interesting points that are absolutely valid and shares some interesting and cool research on like the history of higher education, which I really liked reading and learning about. I do think that Weinberg is a good writer and a solid researcher, and I don't think that there's anything particularly wrong with this book other than I just don't agree with her major argument. So I gave the book 3 stars, and for MASH I picked Job because I lately have really been enjoying doing my research and writing nonfiction. So Maggie is back there rolling around, so if you hear like weird noises, it's probably her. All right, and last one for this round, Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is book 2 in the Grandest Game series, which is a spin-off series from Barnes's Inheritance Games cycle. It's 417 pages and was published in 2025, so a newer release. I read the first book in this series earlier in 2025 and I really did not enjoy it, but thankfully it has bounced back with this installment, Glorious Rivals. I feel like the first book in the Grandest Game, which is called The Grandest Game, had very little character development in it and was just all puzzles, but now we're back on track where it's a good balance of puzzles and characters. So the basic premise of this is that these very rich people have set up a contest where people can win a bunch of money, and the contest entails solving a bunch of riddles, and each character is one of the players in the contest. And you do need to read the Inheritance Games cycle, you know, those 4 books, to really appreciate this spin-off series. You got to go back and read them. Otherwise, there's no point in really reading these books. I thought that the character development in this one brought us back into what I love about Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing is great tension, great relationship dynamics, fun puzzles that complement that and create some high stakes. The first book, it felt like there was no stakes. Second book, we're seeing stakes. I gave it 4 stars, and for MASH I picked Crush, the oldest brother, obviously. Let's draw the last 4. Silverborn by Jessica Townsend. Alice in Borderlands Volume 2 by Haro. Below Zero by CJ Box. Small Things Like These by Keegan. Alice in Borderland by Haro. This is volume 2 in the Alice in Borderland series. It's a manga. It was 344 pages long and published in 2011. The basic premise of this is this group of teenagers who are very angsty hang out one evening to kind of commiserate about their life situation. Something in my eye. The teenagers, when they're hanging out on this night, they see some fireworks, and after the fireworks they're suddenly in another realm, and it's a realm where it's like a dystopia in a not too distant future, and they have to play these games and survive them. It's similar to the Hunger Games, only way higher stakes and way more horrifying. These books read like my anxiety nightmares, and the first book was super intense. The second volume is as intense, but sort of not quite as high stakes, because the characters find this place called the beach, and the beach is a group of people who are strategizing around the games to maximize their chances of survival and escaping Borderlands. So this one has a little bit more strategy in it and a little less just horrifying survival games. I gave it 4 stars. For MASH, I picked Job because in the first book, one of the characters goes to school, and at school there are teachers. It's a stretch, I know, but that is the only thing for MASH that I would want to do in this book series. Would you like Alice in Borderland if you like really, really high stakes, high intensity, scary stories? If you like dystopian stories, if you like things similar to the Hunger Games, you might like this. Small Things Like These by Keegan. This is an adult literary fiction. It's 118 pages long, so it's a novella, and it was published in 2021. Keegan is a really lovely writer. This is a story about a family man in Ireland who visits this convent where pregnant girls are sent to, and learns what happens to these girls, and kind of reflects on if he should or shouldn't intervene, essentially. It is written around Christmas time, so if you're looking for a Christmas story, but it's not super uplifting. I would say it's a little bit heavier, a little bit more emotional than like a cozy Christmas book, because it is literary fiction, so it has some hard-hitting ideas and moments in it. But I really liked Keegan's writing, and I want to read more from her. I gave it 4 stars. For MASH, I picked Setting because it's set in Ireland, and I would love to visit Ireland someday. Would you like Small Things Like These? I think if you like literary fiction set in Ireland, you would like this. I think if you like Frederik Backman, you would like Keegan's writing. Below Zero by CJ Box. This is book number 9 in the Joe Pickett series. It's 342 pages and was published in 2009. In this, there is this bad guy, and he is dying of cancer, and he has this goal to reduce his global carbon footprint to below 0. And so part of how he's doing this is less than legal activities. So Joe gets involved, and that's all I can really say without spoiling things. I really liked this installment. I feel like this is getting back to what hooked me in this series to begin with. Book 8 and book 7, while I really enjoyed them, they were more straightforward crime thrillers. This one gets more into some of the environmentalist and conservationist theories and philosophies that I really like about the Joe Pickett series. Because that idea of, can we ever get our global footprint to below 0? Is that even possible? Is really fascinating to think about. Loved this installment, gave it 4 stars. For MASH, I picked Friend or Family Group because the Picketts are the sweetest family. They have their dysfunctions, but they just really love each other. You would like this series if you like thinking about things related to environmentalism, conservation, animal rights, even some ideas around like land ownership, farming practices. He covers a lot of stuff like that. And something I really appreciate about CJ Box and the way he writes these stories is that he's not telling you what to think. Like if he asks the question, is hunting good or bad? He doesn't tell you the answer to that question. What he does is he tells you a story that shows all sides of the discussion so that you can decide the answer on your own. So if that sounds cool to you, you might like this series. Okay, last is Silverborn by Jessica Townsend. This is The Mystery of Morrigan Crow. This is 588 pages and was published in 2025. It was a new release. It is book 4 in the Nevermore series, which is a middle grade fantasy. This is about Morrigan Crow, who's born a cursed child and gets whisked away to Nevermore by Jupiter North, where she joins the Wondrous Society and goes to a magical school and is learning how to be a magical being in this society. And this one, I feel like Jessica Townsend kind of... Oh, Maggie just got back from a walk with a friend. So in this one, I feel like Jessica Townsend kind of loses the plot. I feel like she veers off on a different tangent than what she set up in books 1, 2, and 3. And hopefully book 5, she comes back around to the original story arc, which I think was more interesting. I think this has middle book syndrome, and I was quite disappointed in it, although there were things that I did still like about it. I probably will still reread this because and I'm hoping that when book 5 comes out, what happens in this book will have been important and not just filler. Maybe Jessica Townsend will be able to tie all of this information into the next book in some really meaningful way. That would be the best outcome. I do own this book. I will be stamping it and keeping it in my collection. I gave it 3 stars, and for MASH, I picked Crush because I have always had a crush on Jupiter North. Would you like Nevermore? You would like Nevermore if you liked Harry Potter. You would like Nevermore if you like any kind of super whimsical, magical middle grade that adults can appreciate just as much as middle graders. All right, that was my December wrap up. I couldn't tell you in this moment what my favorite book from December was. Hang on. Oh, yes, I can. My favorite book from the month of December was Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Definitely. Have you read any of these books? Let me know what you think about them in the comments down below. Tell me what your favorite book of December was. If you like my content, make sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you can see future videos. If you're feeling really at home here, feel free to join the Discord. Everything is in the description box down below. If you just want to leave me an emoji to let me know that you're here. For Not Quite Dead Yet, leave me the brain emoji. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other.